What's up, everybody? Billy Liucci.
And I'm Amanda Atwell.
And we are here to do a little what we love to do on this show.
Moving goalposts, or at least one of us loves to do. I feel like I'm not quite as bad about it as you are.
You're not, or are you not quite as good at it? I don't know. We let the people...
Is there being good at moving goalposts? I feel like moving goalposts is kind of a derogatory term.
I don't know. If you're good at it, you just like keep the target moving, and you people are, the streets are saying that this podcast has not been good for me because you are calling out the moving goalposts now that I've been doing for like so long, and it's just not been like a favorable matchup for me. So I need to start changing that. I do see what your fan base says, and I need to rally, Amanda. So
it's not just my fan base.
I know. They say I'm like in over my head, so we're going to start changing that this week. We're working. This is going to be a good episode for yours truly, and hopefully you too. I'm not rooting against you, maybe just a little bit, but last week you had some fun with it. I still say that was a total setup with the Jaden Baugh thing that I walked right into. You think?
Well, you made the commentary beforehand about the running back, so I was curious and I wanted to look up. Every time Texas gets an addition from the portal, go look it up and look at their stats, and oh boy, Jaden Baugh was right there, neck and neck with the Raleigh Browns. So, I think there's a little more parity that you have to look at when it comes to these kinds of additions based on the types of teams they're coming from and just how they were set up to succeed at those teams. Obviously, it's hard to evaluate whether or not a player is going to be elite next year in Texas's system, but I think Texas did everything in their power to make what they perceive to be potentially elite additions. So,
yeah.
If you think Jaden Baugh's elite in a offense like Florida had, then player that's right below him might have that same potential as well.
I'll be honest, sometimes when these go, I go back to the drawing board, and you sent me back to the drawing board last week, and I was like questioning, like, damn, was that as bad as I thought? And then I thought about it, and I said, I probably should have been a little more, you caught me off guard with it, but a little more, I shouldn't have called Baugh elite, believe it or not. I think we need to reserve elite. This is probably what I should have said for
It depends on your definition of elite as well.
So
because some would call Wisner elite. I think he was elite in not last season, but in 2024.
Yeah.
He stepped up in a role that he didn't think he was going to be in, and he had 1,000-yard season, but last year was far from elite from Wisner. So, it has a little more parity than one would think. And I think with you also, you work for TexAgs. You're used to saying things to hype up Texas A&M. So this is a little bit different of a environment than that. And I do think it's funny when your initial reaction is, how can I discredit this addition in whatever way I can, versus admit that, wow, Texas has gotten some really beneficial portal additions. It's the presentation of the narrative. In journalism school, we called it framing. How you frame things you're not supposed to do it in journalism because it affects the perception of the story. So when you frame something to make people want to hear a certain thing, that's not good journalism. Not that this is a insanely journalistic podcast we have here, but
it's not.
Framing is important when it comes to media in general. You have to look at how things are being framed.
We could
elicit a certain emotion.
We could go on and maybe it's an off-season topic where we get some journalists in here. I think it's a great
journalists in here. We have a journalist in here.
Yeah, me and you. Two differently. We have come up differently, but here's the deal. I think there's a couple things there that I want to, and we're gonna present our sponsor here in a minute. But this is too good. There's a whole conversation that we kind of tapped into last week, and then I really wanted, with the Pat McAfee and the girl that asked the question. I think we talked about it on Texags Radio, where she kind of wished Liam Cohen luck at the end of the season. The Jaguars lost, and everybody made a big deal of it. It seemed like so much about nothing, but this whole thing you kind of dipped your toe in just then is like the classically trained journalism versus not. And I would love to do almost like, you could almost do a panel with, like, say someone like you that went and studied and graduated with a degree in journalism from the University of Texas, someone like me that has got in on this. I will say this, and people that have been around know it's not like a brag, it's just factual, and there are other people besides me, but it's a small group that are still doing this, that came in at a time when that line was first starting to kind of get blurred. In other words, and now it feels like almost no one comes up the traditional route, where really unconventional, untraditional kind of pop up out of nowhere with no training, learn as you go, do a lot of it on social media. So it would almost be a really fun thing for you and I to kind of, I think about from the standpoint of, I almost think like a panel discussion with people from, like a kind of new, modern, current media. You classically trained, me not.
I have a lot of commentary on that subject, and I mean, I don't think it's as dangerous in the outlet that we are in, but in certain outlets, I think it can be very dangerous, of people believe everything they see on the internet, and you have somebody with no education spewing whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you.
People just believe it without any further research on the subject.
Yeah, we'd probably want to keep it to sports.
That's just the nature of media and social media these days. I don't think it's as dangerous in journalism, and props to somebody. I do think a lot of the classically trained journalists, they have to, in sports especially, I've seen so many who refuse to adapt to this new model, and especially like my background's in local television, and I look back at my old TV station in Amarillo, Texas. They have, I think, maybe 5 full-time newsroom employees now.
Wow.
And that includes producers, that includes sports
department. And what did that used to be?
At least 20.
Really?
At least. God. And that was just 2017, 2018. And it's just since been gutted. And that's a company, Sinclair Broadcasting, that, in my personal opinion, has refused to evolve with the times. And look at what's happening to it. So I think my current company does a better job at that, of just like people get their information from things like this, podcasts, TikToks, and so many journalists I know have left the industry just traditionally because they refuse to adapt to this new medium. But I don't know. I think the new medium has it's almost like endless potential. It is what you make of it.
Well, and that's what...
It's just, you're not as constricted. Like, I was constricted to 3 minutes of time in a newscast when I was on television. You're not restricted to that in this format.
Well,
which is good.
I also think it's cool that you could study that, and you wanted to have a career in sports, and then you did, and then you went a different path, and then just through our conversations, we were talking, and we've brought this up many times. You said, what would be kind of cool? What? We should do a podcast. And we thought about it and said, it'd be fun. First of all, it'd be fun. Second of all, we thought people would like it. And third,
some people do, some people don't. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
You're either loved or you're hated, or people don't care. So if you're one of those first two, then thank you so much.
Exactly. And but it was something where you could just wake up one day and all of a sudden get back into talking about the things you love, which are, sports, college football / the Longhorns. So, and
don't get me wrong, it wasn't waking up one day. It was pestering the shit out of you to get the ball rolling on getting this started. We were supposed to start this like 2 months before we actually did.
I mean, you also know that I was like, damn, I don't know how that's going to go for me. And it's gone. It probably hasn't gone like I thought, but it's been fun, and it's been a good challenge. Like, that's what the Texas people this week were all talking about it, and I'm like, do y'all not know me? Some of them were saying I was gonna quit the show if it keeps going. I'm like, y'all absolutely don't know me. Like, this is like, if I feel like a good challenge, that's why we do it every Sunday. Like,
I mean, you're a good
fun.
sport. A lot of people's pride would be too injured to go along with it. So
true, but I am a good sport. But one thing I am going to not let you get away with is going back to the beginning, which was I was not trying to knock or poke holes in what Texas was doing by saying those guys weren't elite. I actually, in that clip and in the ensuing conversation, gave plenty of credit. You lose Wisner and you came out ahead. It's just
my point was, it's you lead with a criticism rather than the compliment, which I just think if it was A&M, it would be the reverse. You would lead with the complimentary comments, and then you would follow up with, we got to see if this will work out because of this.
Okay, so delivery aside, here's what I think. After thinking about it, because that little beat down had me like going back to the drawing board, and this is what I think. I think like 75. I replied in one of your tweets to somebody like this, and I think a lot of both sides said that's exactly.
I just muted the responses on that one. I was like, 70 replies? I don't think I want to weed.
But I was
Meanwhile, I open my notifications and I have 20 notifications from you responding to like every person.
Like, all right, but we weren't really fighting. It wasn't very contentious because I really didn't have. I wasn't really like in very much of a defensive mode on that one. That one kind of was self-explanatory. Sometimes I can try to defend. Sometimes I just am like, L. So
not my best look.
Yeah, exactly. But what I was getting at in what I said in one of them was, look, 75% of these portal things are almost like internal, to the point of like, hey, we're the Aggies, we're the Longhorns, we're the LSU Tigers, the Crimson Tide. We're just trying to maintain. So like, if Texas loses Wisner, it's like we want to get better, but we at least definitely have to get that. If A&M loses, Basantis to the NFL, it's like, gosh, okay, that's one more portal guy we have to get, but it's not a backup portal. We got to go find a starter now. So like, it's funny this week because a lot of these ads are then the fans celebrate, like the Aggies celebrate, and we did that, and then Longhorns are doing the same thing. It's like, no, you're just replacing the guys you lost with equal level guys that you're hoping to get for less money, so you can pay more money to the top end.
Yeah, I feel like that's the case in some editions, but I would say like players like Cam Coleman, wholly better than any player we lost in that wide receiver room. Better than DeAndre Moore.
I agree.
Better than Jamie French. As with the running backs, I think you could argue that's better than the additions that we lost, because let's be real, the running back room last year was not good outside of the 2 games. Of OU, Vanderbilt, you saw some life, and A&M.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and you can blame part of that on the O-line, which we'll get into shortly. But at the same time, I mean, the O-line was the same O-line it's been all season.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like when you have a room that struggled so much last year, replacing the players that you lost with 2 players that obviously made very significant contributions at their last school and have a tremendous upside.
Well, they led their conferences.
You can look at that and say it's an improvement. There's other position groups where I agree. It's like you're like when you exchange Nick Brooks for a Jonte Newman, you're just trying to retain that depth piece right there.
Yeah, and it's the same thing where the Aggies are doing the same thing at positions, and you lost a tight end, a starting tight end in Theo Mellon-Orstrom, who's a good, solid player. Well, you went out and got another tight end that, at the bare minimum, needs to be a good, solid player, and if he's better than that,
Texas did the same thing. I would think with injuries and our tight end that committed very early on, Michael Masunas. So you hit on it, and this is where I was going with it. Yeah, there's Cam Coleman. And I think you would put your 2 running backs in there, and I think A&M would put, Isaiah Horton in there. Biles as well.
Yeah, I think if I really went down and tried to say, top tier in my mind. Forget it, the word elite. Top tier in my mind, like impact portal guys. I think I see about 4 of them at Texas. I see about 3 or 4 of them at A&M. In terms of like, they're going to come in and upgrade. So the Aggies got a bunch of offensive linemen that'll probably, I don't know if all 4 of them will start. I bet 3 of them do. And
I see about
TBD,
7 at Texas.
7 starters.
Or impact players.
So that was my
Maxwell, Hollywood Smothers, Ian Giffard, Michael Masunas the tight end, Cam Coleman, Rasheem Biles, Raleek Brown, and then Melvin Siani.
So, yeah, I mean, I agree. Those are impact guys. But the question is, to me, how many of them, as you sit here today, go, okay, that's going to take Texas to a better team? And I think it's obviously Cam. And to go back and admit you were right, you know, I would say it's the 2 running backs for the reasons you just said.
I think Melvin Siani. I mean, the O-line, that's another room that you can talk about. The O-line
all-conference O-lineman, yeah.
Was not good last year. Mm-hmm. So any additions you make there, I think, are positive. The main piece you're replacing is DJ Campbell on that O-line. So, yeah, and before we go much further, I think we should probably talk about our sponsor before we just completely forget.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to talk about it, and then we're going to have Cade cut it and put it at the beginning, and then he can be real fancy with it. So let's talk a little bit all right, so we'll be breaking here. Let's talk about a little La Casa Tequila, Amanda, our proud sponsor. I've got a batch for you that will be heading up to Dallas.
You can see one on my bar cart back there. I think that's maybe my last bottle.
Yeah,
been waiting for some more.
We need some. I've got it next Dallas trip. There you go. And I know you enjoy it. I like when a sponsor is something that we both, as hosts of the show, actually endorse because we like it. It's not something we don't know about.
Yeah, well, don't act like you don't like all of your sponsors.
I like them all, but I'm saying like something like that I can drink and, well, I mean, you see me not today, but I'm usually wearing the Duck Camp hats. That's another sponsor of ours that I'm a big fan of. But yeah, so like Academy, which I love going and getting gear at, like my little beanie right here for the cold weather that, by the way, is coming next weekend. You might want to check that weather.
I'm sure all of Texas will react
They'll handle it well,
common sense.
Especially you guys up in the Metroplex when y'all get hit with the annual ice storm, right?
Yeah, fortunately, I live 0.8 miles from my workplace, so if I have to, I can trudge through the snow instead of drive.
There you go. So, what was it? Was it Yeah, it was last year. Remember, we didn't know if we were all going to be able to make it to the Cotton Bowl.
That was cold.
Yeah,
I remember being very cold.
It was cold.
Just walking from our parking spot to the game.
It was supposed to snow feet and feet, and it didn't. And then it was actually like New Orleans that got like a foot of snow. It was so unpredictable. But if you do get snowed in next weekend, make sure you go buy La Casa Tequila, because if you're sitting there at the house and you're going stir crazy, it'll warm you up and it'll put you in a better mood. There you go. And you'll probably sleep better too. All right, so let's get back to it. We were kind of going off on a tangent there. I think my point of all that was, I think, starting to think about reevaluate the word elite and maybe not use it, but just say impact, which you took the words out of my mouth, because that's what I was going to say today on this thing. It's not about elite. It's who's impactful on your team that you feel very good today makes your team noticeably better. So who cares what A&M and LSU and Oklahoma and everybody else got if you're Texas? You care what you got. So who's impactful? Same thing with A&M. Don't worry about everyone else. Who's impactful? And I think you went down your list. For me, I think A&M added real impact at DN as a pass rusher. I think they added it at cornerback. I think they added it at wide receiver with Horton. Those are 3 that really stand out to me, like truly stand out. And then I think the offensive line, again, you went out and got SEC starters. And I think if there's a position where A&M could actually get better up front, it might be tackle. If you consider the fact that Trey Zune was kind of a move-around guy, they could be in a better position at tackle, which obviously would be pretty significant. So let's dive into the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was about to say
we hit a lot of it.
You're kind of going through our entire second segment here, so let's go ahead and actually
get on track.
Start with our first segment,
basketball.
And then I guess we can cut some out of the second segment because we already talked about it.
We will. Okay, so I went down to Austin last night, Saturday night, as we air this week, but went down to Austin and I didn't realize, Amanda, A&M has not won. A lot of these numbers are skewed because, the Aggies and Longhorns didn't play during this 12-year stretch. But the Aggies hadn't won in Austin since 2002 in basketball.
Oh, wow.
And you've got a lot of NCAA tournament teams. You've got 3 Sweet 16s in there. Not since 2002. And then before that, it was like 87.
Wow.
So once,
I mean, my expectation for Texas basketball this year was pretty low, to be very clear.
Yeah.
I mean, first year under a new head coach, the last 2 weeks with the 2 big wins over top programs was awesome. But I mean, my expectations were fairly low going into the season, as I think a lot of teams are with a new head coach. But
can I tell them, though, about you moving goalposts? And this is you and Peyton. All last year, when A&M was having a really good basketball season, I got that from you. Basketball, we're not any good. That's the whole thing. We're not any good. But sure enough, when you came back from 24 down to beat A&M at the Moody, I heard all about it. And then in the SEC, I didn't hear a peep out of basketball the rest of the year. And then the SEC tournament, I remember, and I'm sitting there courtside, and I am getting peppered with texts down the stretch, and it goes to overtime, and when you guys beat us. So that is where I will catch you and your trusted sidekick moving goalposts. It is when basketball is convenient. And that's not just y'all.
Basketball is kind of
it's
I'm
everybody in this part of the country.
Fan. I tune in March Madness, honestly. Yeah. If I'm really paying attention to basketball, it's because I know Texas could have a really good season. That hasn't, honestly, I've tuned out since the Chris Beard debacle. That just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Thank God
we weren't doing the show then.
Yeah, that was insane and just very, I don't know, I love women's basketball, I will say this, I care a little bit more about women's basketball. I covered women's basketball in college. I went to nearly every Texas women's basketball game. Okay. It was like my beat I did for an internship, and I got to really like the women's game a little bit better because I feel like it's it's less of the big tricks and more of the actual skill. But I mean, I played women's soccer. I think women's soccer is superior to men's soccer as well. So
I kind of agree with you on that one in terms of watching it. Basketball, I'm still more a men's basketball, but I love women's hoops. I mean,
I will say I like college basketball way more than the NBA. You can catch me going to a lot of Stars games. I don't know if you'll catch me at a Mavs game in the near future. Previously, yes, but the Luka trade, I might need to pick a whole new team because
Mavs, yeah, that deal, that still stings Dallas.
I live 2 blocks from the stadium, by the way, and you could not catch me at a Mavs game right now.
Give me NHL hockey all day, though, to
Stars,
go to.
Fun time.
They are, and that's, I feel like that's the pride and joy of Dallas right now with the way they've been the last couple of years. But look.
What, the Cowboys aren't the pride and joy of Dallas?
Speaking of trades, you get the Micah Parsons. But let's talk about, so the Aggies go down there and they win in Austin for just the second time since 87. A&M also with a first-year coach. I think when Texas hired Sean Miller, I said to myself, damn good hire, gonna win. I thought he'd win more this year than he has, but gonna win. No,
early in the season still.
All he does is win everywhere. He's going to win. He's made runs in the post. It was a great hire. When A&M hired Bucky McMillan, that name was dropped to me a few days before as like, hey, I'm just telling you this is, and I'm like, damn, I better do my research. I liked what I heard about him, and it was okay. And then he got to A&M, and when I first met him, I go, wow, this guy's different. Like, there's something different about him. And you wanted to see how it translated on the court in day one. I don't know how many returnees Texas has. The Aggies, when Bucky got here, had one player on their roster. One. Not two. One. And it was the end of the portal. He had to go out and build a team from 1 to 15 in like this time. He was the last coach hired by a major place. What he's doing right now, and again, you just said it, it's early in the season. I'm not going to take this 10 steps forward today. But what he's done so far is beyond impressive. And they're 4-1 in the SEC, and their only loss was on the road in double overtime to Tennessee. So they're playing great ball. I wanted to see that game, Amanda, Saturday, because Texas had just gone on the road and beaten Alabama, who was, I think, number 11. And then they beat Vandy, who was undefeated in the top 15. I think, and I think the top 10 maybe.
Yeah, I think this team has a lot of potential, but they're still working out some kinks, obviously.
Yeah. So I wanted to see, like, hey, A&M, you're going on the road against a rival. And by the way, kudos to the Texas fans and the mood or whatever it is y'all call it.
How was the environment? I haven't been to – well, no, I take that back. I've been to one game down there. It's
such a cool venue. Obviously,
better than Frank Irwin, but that wasn't hard to do.
Yeah, better than the Drum, right? But I've been to a couple concerts there, maybe 3 concerts there already. I
haven't been to a concert there yet. I was supposed to go to one. I think I was supposed to go to Tyler Childers, and then it was canceled because of the pandemic, which was very depressing.
Oh, that thing's been there that long? That surprised me.
Yeah.
I went to a Spurs game actually there, and then I've been to like 3 concerts. This was my first college basketball game there, and I thought it was a great atmosphere. The crowd turned out
It's a really cool arena.
You should have seen the line. They did a great job of getting everybody fired up. That's what 2 SEC ranked wins will do for you in a row. Mm-hmm. And A&M goes out, and it's a tie game at halftime, and they go and they take control in the second half and early and hold on and kind of keep Texas at arm's length. So I'll be interested now. I'm not interested, I know. With 2 home games coming up now for the Aggies, Mississippi State and South Carolina, I think you're going to see the same bump that Texas got at home on Saturday here in College Station because, it's just like you just said about basketball. You almost have to win for them to come. And it's not the way in football.
That's the case at Texas and at A&M.
Anywhere in the South. Anywhere in the South.
It's like football is always going to be the priority. It's always going to be the bragging rights. It's always going to be the thing that everyone cares about the most. But you can't lie, it's really fun when your basketball team's good as well. But at the same time, it's like they got to be good for fans to care.
Yeah. I mean, it's
at football, fans will care either way. Look at Texas A&M, always selling out their stadium. Even in down years.
No question. And
when I was in college, I can't say the same. That DKR was pretty sad when I was in college.
I was telling people, though, hold on, I'm checking this about our, I was telling people the other day, or Saturday, sitting next to some people, they actually went to Samford, and they were there literally to watch and support Bucky, where he coached prior. And one of them lived in Austin, and the other people made the trip. And they're like, and that's what I like, that he's kind of got that effect, and I can't imagine how that bleeds over into his players. But we were talking about, I was like, no one was going to Alabama and Auburn basketball before they had Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates bringing them to Final Fours. It is in the SEC, if you're not at Kentucky, you have to win first, then they come. So both these coaches have that in front of them. The
same way with Kansas in the Big 12.
Yeah, it's Kansas and look, I used to think Oklahoma by the way, we'll move on, but we're talking about when I was covering Big 12. I used to think, man, Oklahoma State is a basketball place. Gallagher-Iba Arena, holy cow, that's incredible. And they have stunk for the better part of a decade now, and guess what? People weren't there. You'd go there and no one's there. So I think it's just the state.
Their football team is following suit right now.
Oh God, they did hire the elf though. They did hire Eric Morris. We'll see if he can.
Yeah, my
ignite them.
My brother just married an Oklahoma State grad who is close to as passionate about me as
really?
football. And this is first he's only known her about a year because they started dating and got married pretty quickly. So I hadn't known her during a football season, and she was not happy.
Oh God, I can't imagine if you're that diehard, because they have had some good years. Speaking of good years, it's been a good couple of years in this rivalry. And last night, when I'm down there in Austin, and to see it, the lines outside, and it's filled up, and watching the Aggies and Longhorns, it was a clean game, but there was like a dust up. You could tell everybody, the intensity was dialed up. It's been so fun watching. I mean, how much have you loved watching the Aggies and Longhorns back at it? I know you've loved it in football, but just in everything, in less than 2 sports seasons, we've had so much happen already for both programs.
I mean, I think aside from just A&M, I mean, getting back that rivalry, I think is just good for college sports in general.
Yeah.
Restarting any rivalry is great. But just being in the SEC is world. I mean, I am so sorry I can't get super hyped to play Iowa State or West Virginia. But I think everybody can get pretty hyped to play Alabama or Tennessee or any of these, or LSU. Like, it's just different. I feel like yes, very, very happy. Especially the rivalry itself is fun to have back. Texas had the upper hand last year. A&M improved in a lot of sports this year. And I mean, Texas, I'm trying to think of all the sports that have played so far. So volleyball was back and forth there with just the series between the two. Soccer for Texas stunk this year after being great last year. New coach at least.
A&M made a change too.
Yeah, softball coming up, baseball coming up, football obviously. I mean, I think Aggies were a little more confident this year, but the DKR curse ended up hitting them. So, I mean, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've loved it. And I'm sure, I mean, aside from Texas, despite being in the Big 12, at least benefited from still having one of the best rivalries in college football to play against OU. And so happy that OU came to the SEC as well, because you retain that rivalry, which I think that game is one of, you still have you been to the Cotton Bowl for?
No, you always bring this up, and I always have to say and I need to.
I'm shocked. That is one of the best games in college.
I would love to go. The environment,
undefeated, just like splitting it at the 50-yard line. The state, and now that it's at 3 p.m., it's so much better because you have more time at the fair beforehand.
And you can go straight to dinner.
Yeah, but just... And I brought my boyfriend, Grant. He's not quite as much of a football guy as
hockey,
which is shocking. He's not much of a sports guy in general. But so he obviously hadn't been to a game like that before he went to Minnesota. And he was like, why isn't every football game like this? This is crazy.
You know, Grant,
just being split at the 50. So I think that's a bucket list. You have to go, even though you're not a fan.
I will, and I would love it. I would love to go and watch y'all in action, meaning you and Peyton, and starting fights. And
Grant came with me one year, but he sacrificed his ticket to Peyton this year, and it's good that we are batshit crazy at that game. I don't think there's any other explanation for it.
Grant is right in that, just kind of like sports, don't love them. It's probably really
he sat
good
outside the fair with a couple other friends and watched the game.
Good for
got the experience of being there.
It's really good for your sanity, probably. That's why he's so chill.
Yeah, he is a honorary Texas fan, and I'll cheer for the Gophers when they're in the Frozen Four.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so my thing with this rivalry is yesterday was great. Last year we talked about the 3 basketball games. They met in the postseason. We both were we all went together to the A&M Texas baseball game last year. Epic. Longhorns swept,
that
unfortunately.
Picture that went super viral of you after that baseball game.
I was so mad. Just you getting in the car and going, hey, check Twitter. And I'm like, you son of a... But, I had no idea what it was either. That's what was the bad part. But 3 one-run games there. You had... the 2 football games we talked about last week have been such high profile. Longhorns in the last couple years have won 2 volleyball national titles. A&M comes and does it this year. The 2 teams play. They split this year. I think they split last year. Softball had an epic series, and then Longhorns won it. The Aggie women won the national title in track. It's just been fun to watch this because I think, Amanda, greatness begets greatness in rivalries, and I think it will cause everyone to elevate, and I think the rest of the SEC is going to have to watch out because not only are we trying to keep up with y'all in the sports we're not as good at, it's the other way as well with you guys. But also now there's a spending component too, and guess who can spend?
Yeah.
Maroon and white and burnt orange can both spend, and they can spend as much or more than everyone. So I think that these 2 programs in all sports get used to what we've been seeing. That's what I'm saying. It's going to be fun, and last night was fun. Let's wrap up the portal. We've talked a lot about this now, and there hasn't been a lot of activity, Amanda, since we last talked Sunday.
I think there will be a little more here pretty soon. On the Texas end,
Okay.
I didn't realize it was a thing. I put this in our notes a little bit earlier of just there might be another name entering the portal on the Texas side that's unexpected. Apparently it's a player that announced he was staying that Texas is trying to retain, but filed to enter the portal very last minute, but his name has not populated in the portal yet.
It'll be tomorrow, Tuesday, it'll populate.
Yeah, but Texas is trying to retain this player, and it seems to be a pretty important player from the On Texas Football reporting on the situation. So, keep your eyes on that. That wasn't great news, but at least it's one player. It's not 10. Just have to remind myself of that every time this happens.
If it's ever one player, very few players that are one player are going to change, like, unless his name
it's Arch Manning.
Arch Manning.
Don't think it's Arch Manning, by the way. I think there will be a lot more panic coming from the On Texas Football side if it was Arch Manning.
So on the A&M side, I have not heard of anything that you're talking about along those lines. I did make a call Saturday, or was it Sunday night, like closing, it was Friday night, I'm sorry, closing in on midnight, just to double check, like, hey, what? And there were no red flags or alarms. As we're recording this, you kind of just reminded me that I meant to go check again on Sunday night because, like you said, if it's done, it's not done that they can't withdraw, but they can't. If they didn't go in, it's all good. So I need to double check on that end, and I will be posting that on TexAgs here later. So thank you for the heads up. As far as the Aggies go, man, I don't think you're going to see A&M. I always do the one player what if, or one player like it could happen. So maybe they add one more, and I couldn't even tell you who that would be today. There's not a one more that they would add. Somebody could end up. So let's just say maybe one, but they're probably done. I think the only guy we didn't talk about on Sunday was they added C.J. Mims, a defensive tackle from North Carolina, who they desperately wanted and needed there. So they added 3 portal guys at D tackle, one from Colorado, one from North Carolina, and one from Illinois, all very experienced, 300-plus pounders. Kind of, if you want an example, go look at what Texas did last year in that spring portal, and I think it got you guys some good players. Most notably was Hero Canoe, who I think stood out above them, and actually, didn't he just announce a week or so ago that he was staying? So
I'm thinking of like all these players who they announced staying. Which ones do I know actually signed paperwork? Because I'm Hero was one that he was deciding between the NFL and returning. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure he's going to still be returning.
So that was it for A&M. Do you think Texas will add more? I think the Aggies will eventually. There'll be somebody that pops up. But Texas, are they still going after O-line?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Texas is definitely going to add at least a few more. I do think Sark is going to look for another just kind of backup quarterback with experience like he did with Matthew Caldwell this year. He likes having four quarterbacks for scholarship quarterbacks on the roster and not just have a freshman who has never seen the field as his main backup. So I think you could see that there of just like a solid player that can come in and throw a winning touchdown like you saw Matthew Caldwell do this year. Still going after an interior lineman. Is there a lot that could be starting at this point? I don't know. That's my one, and I was going to bring this up later. That's my one disappointment with the transfer portal. I don't think we went quite as hard after the O-lineman as we would have wanted to. Okay. You still got a couple really good additions in that room, which is promising. I've heard Texas is a little colder on the Jordan Seaton pressing, just with the Melvin.
Siani, how do you say that?
Siani, let me see.
Wake Forest, yeah. That was a nice addition. All second team, all ACC from Wake. Really great.
So I think, it's what's left at this point. I do think you'll see some more additions from Texas. And you have to think about the fact that after we're recording this on Sunday, but after the national championship is played tomorrow, those players on both of those teams have 5 days to enter the portal, which, there will definitely be some players on both of those rosters, and they're very talented rosters. So I think you could definitely see Texas going after some of those players. There was an assumption from OTF that Texas was going to look to add anywhere from 15 to 18. They're at 16 right now. They just added one other player. I'll look up his name in just a second. Okay. But so I think they could be adding a couple more. Just a lot of depth pieces, and then there's a couple of holes they're looking to fill as well.
So we'll dive into that here in a second. I was going to ask you, because one of the guys Texas did add, Texas went and added Jonte Newman, an offensive lineman from A&M that I was high on when they took him. Now, he was not going to play at A&M anytime soon. Even with all the losses this year on the O-line, he was not in line to play. But Jeff Banks recruited him out of Bridgeland High School, probably sees all that potential there. He picked A&M, and he took him. And that, to me, was a depth add. But it brings up, and you need that. And A&M does that. Everybody does it. You have to. My question, though, that's what A&M did last year with Amari Niblack. So that leads me to my question. Yesterday, we watched Jamie Vinson have a couple dunks, and I think he had a really productive, not a ton of minutes, maybe 6 or 7 minutes, but was impactful against his former team, the Longhorns. Niblack did not make a big impact. I don't presume Newman will make a big impact, but I think he'll help depth. How do you feel, Amanda, in 2026 about, we did the whole Parker Livingston thing. How do you feel about players athletes flipping from A&M to Texas and vice versa? Does that kind of tear at your, like, you don't like it one way, you do like it the other way? Are you just cool with it and you just say that's just football, or are you old school and go, bullshit, this is a rivalry, go anywhere else?
I think it depends on how it goes. I think the old farts of college football get a little more bitter about this stuff than younger people. You can see that from like the Arkansas rivalry, which is only really feels like a rivalry if you're over the age of 60 years old in both of our fan bases. Right. But like with the Niblack situation, no hard feelings there. He didn't contribute a ton at Texas. Yeah. I didn't think he was going to contribute a ton at A&M. And look what happened. Hoping the best for him, wish it worked out for him, but obviously that was not the case. It all depends on how they do it. And that's why you heard my ranting about the Livingston situation a couple episodes ago. When you make it sound like the team on the way out slighted you, and then you go to the rival, that's when I have an issue, especially when that was not the case at all. Yeah. If you're burning the bridge on your way out, expect your previous fan base to hate you. That's the name of the game. If you give nothing but respect to the team that you're leaving, do what's best for you. I am an athlete. I was an athlete. I understand it. You want to do what's best for you as an athlete. And a lot of these players honestly probably didn't grow up as a fan of either team. So like me, I could never imagine wearing maroon. I will say I did almost go to A&M Law School, which just because it is based in Fort Worth.
Thank God you did not go to law school.
One of the best bar passing rates for price of law school.
Really?
That was my calculation of like, okay, this would be a pretty good decision. Yes. I always set I moved my own goalpost for applying to law school because I told myself, okay, if I don't get a new sports job by this day, I'm just going to go to law school. And every single time I got a new sports job by that day.
Thank God.
I didn't end up going to law school.
But
that's the only instance. I would have worn Texas stuff all around the law school.
Listen, I'm gonna say something right now because people are gonna say that you're like just not you're talking over. People need to understand today we have technical difficulties on our feed. Something is wrong with our Zoom.
I can't see Billy, so
Amanda can't see me. Something's wrong with our Zoom. Thank God you're not a lawyer, although if you were, knowing about you now, what I didn't know then, I would actually hire you to be, you might represent like Texags, me. You would be a pit bull.
Growing up, my dad told me I should be a lawyer because, man, my parents could not win an argument against me.
Yeah, no, I used to be that way, but now I've apparently softened up, is what they're telling me.
I love building an argument. What can I say?
You do that you do.
Building an argument, backing it up with your facts, and presenting it to the judge.
So we were talking. I'm with you on the Texas A&M thing. You leave. I would prefer Aggies that leave not to go play for a rival. If our fans knew how many players wearing burnt orange since this portal has opened have slyly, tried to, through various circles, reach out to A&M that have stayed in Texas, and the other way around. How many people? A lot of them
were probably recruited by Texas A&M as well, and
it's a comfort level both ways.
Enjoyed their visits to Texas A&M.
Yep.
That's the thing. You're like, it would be nice to stay in state and only be how long is it from Texas A&M to Austin? 2 hours?
90, less, yeah. I got home an hour and a half last night.
A lot of these players were probably recruited to A&M. So there's a sense of comfort there
both ways.
As well, especially if they didn't grow up a fan of either team.
And here's my thing.
Now, OU was a different animal entirely, I gotta say.
I think if you go from Texas to OU, that's beyond the pale. At least if you go A&M Texas, you're like, I'm staying in my home state. That's generally that. All right.
I will say Brendan Thompson, I didn't have beef with going to OU.
Yeah.
Also, he didn't do anything at OU. He didn't do anything until he got to Mississippi State. But I knew him from when he was in high school, covered him in high school. Great kid, loved his family, but didn't do anything at OU. So was happy with that. You can transfer to a school and not do anything there and have fun.
Okay, so you kind of talked about what you would have wanted to see more of in the portal. For me, for A&M, what I would have wanted to see more, I think I've talked about this a lot on Texas. So the short version is, I just think I would have liked to have seen one more linebacker, veteran, and I would have liked to have seen a veteran tailback. I love Jamarian Morrow and KJ Edwards as young backs here, and they signed another very highly regarded recruit late at the tailback position out of Florida. But last year they had Le'Veon Moss, Reuben Owens, Amari Daniels, and E.J. Smith, all forward I would call veteran backs. This year, what I would consider veteran backs of that level in terms of age and number of touches, they've got one, Reuben Owens. They went from 4 to 1. I would have liked to have just, if I would have seen one more running back. And how much did
Reuben Owens, my words are failing me. How much did he contribute? That's what I'm trying to say.
Quite a bit when Moss went down. So the second half of the season.
I couldn't remember if he got injured at one point or not.
A little
or if
bit.
It was just Moss.
But he'd have a good game followed by an ineffective game, then pop a good one. So it wasn't as consistent.
The running back room wasn't y'all's biggest offensive
strength
benefit last year.
But depth was, and now I don't think they have depth, so that concerns me. I would have liked to have seen
look
that.
At Texas. That should concern you. If you keep got to be able. Well, at least Marcel can run the football. Arch Manning can also run the football. So at least you have some running quarterbacks to back you up.
It helps.
All right, y'all, if you're looking for a clean energy boost on game day or honestly any day, check out Catalyst Pure Performance Energy. This stuff is built for people who want energy without the junk. We're talking zero sugar, no artificial colors or flavors, no preservatives, and no artificial sweeteners. Catalyst gives you a steady, non-jittery stream of energy thanks to natural nootropics and the same caffeine as a cup of coffee, so you get focus and endurance without the crash. And the flavors, superberry, pomegranate, power, orange dream, citrus spark, cherry, lime charge, and grapefruit, all refreshing, never syrupy. So if you want to fuel your workouts, your late night study sessions, or your Saturday tailgates, grab Catalyst Pure Performance Energy at a store near you or on drinkcatalyst.com. Ignite your performance.
So with that said, what did you feel best about in your portal class? Give me the 30-second rundown and I'll do the same here.
I'd say skill positions. That's what I feel best about. I feel like Texas kind of lacked in real explosive. You didn't really have that one super explosive player you could look to last year. I think Ryan Wingo has the potential to be that, but he was just making some really young mistakes last year, some drops that just should not have been drops. And then obviously we've talked about the running back room just not being up to standard of what it should be. And that's been the past 2 years. But you have a new running backs coach in, and you got two players that hopefully can contribute immediately and effectively, and then obviously you have the Cam Coleman addition. So hopefully the skill positions are what I'm really happy about. And then I said I think O-line is just kind of a PTSD stress point for a lot of Texas fans at this point, because we saw how detrimental it was to it is the reason Texas wasn't in the playoffs. That Florida game, the O-line was awful. People can say what they want to about Arch Manning, but go back and rewatch that game. Arch Manning was not the reason Texas lost that football game. No. Arch Manning did everything he could. He was getting killed. That was a problem. And the defense giving up points that should have not been given up. My other one, we'll talk a little bit more about this later. My other one stress point going into next season is the defense, with how much Texas lost on this defense, just to see if they can just kind of bring back the same level of defense that they have been the past couple of years. But yeah, those are my main points from this portal. You want that explosive player, and I think you picked that up in Cam Coleman, and I think he only makes Ryan Wingo better. I think that combo of players, similar to like Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion, the two of them together, that makes your wide receiver room so much more lethal.
For me, my what I'm most excited about, I think for the Aggies, I'm most pleased with, I would say the three at the top in terms of, to me, impactful was Zay Horton from Alabama at wide receiver, just kind of the icing on the cake to take that receiving core back to being one of the better ones for the second year in a row. Ricky Gibson at corner and Anto Saka at D-end. I think those are like two plug-and-play starters for Will Lee and Cassius Howell. Like, you needed another good corner opposite Des Ricks. I think they went and got a stud in Gibson out of Tennessee. And then Saka from Northwestern I think he's going to be a real pass-rushing weapon for the Aggies this season. So those are mine. Let's talk real quick. We wanted to do this. Give me 3 reasons, now that portal's pretty much done. Obviously, we might add some more, but as the portal's kind of wrapping up, both schools signed top 10 classes in the portal and recruiting. So Sark and Elko both know how to get it done on multiple fronts. They clearly believe in the importance of both, whereas some coaches have shifted more one way or the other. Now that we kind of know what the roster is going to look like in general, give me 3 reasons. And we'll do this quick because we're going to do each team. Give me 3 reasons why you think Texas is better next year. And it doesn't mean there's only 3, but what are yours?
I'm going to do 3, and I'm going to do one or 2 potential hiccup points, because I'm the type of person that I want to be realistic.
Okay.
when it comes to expectations. So better, I would say more experience returning. As far as just you have Arch Manning returning, who has had a full season starting. You saw Arch Manning's hiccups at the beginning of the season. Like one of our followers like to mention the dirt balls. The dirt balls were the bane of my existence in that Ohio State game and then an UTEP game. But you have him returning with experience and confidence. You have a couple other the additions that we talked about as far as skill players go. Like you're replacing Parker Livingston with Cam Coleman. So I'd say you're doing pretty good in that category. Then the second point is you retained a ton of talented young players that maybe didn't see the field a ton last year, but saw it enough to get a certain level of experience and hopefully make contributions going into next season. My one there is Khalil Lockett. Hopefully he can continue to develop because he had an exciting appearance in the Michigan game, the Cheez-It Bowl.
Oh, I think, let me cut in here and tell you, Lockett and Bishop, Jermaine Bishop, who you signed this year, the 5-star receiver, those two guys are going to be really young. They have a lot of juice between them in terms of like as pure, like kind of electric playmaking type. So that is something that just following those guys as recruits like we did, and they jump out to me in terms of over the years. Like, okay, in the last couple of years, Bishop has been a guy that really jumped out and go, damn, he's a straight up playmaker for sure.
That's why initially I wasn't super stressed about if Texas got Cam Coleman or not, because I mean, you have some depth and really young players. Obviously, you're worried about them making those young mistakes like Ryan Wingo did. But you have that depth in that room. But obviously, not sad about the Cam Coleman pickup. And then third point, I think there's a lot to be said about a chip on your shoulder. I think there's a lot to be said about being one of those first teams left out of the college football playoff and then watching the college football playoff and thinking, man, we beat 2 of these teams. We could beat a couple more of these teams. Not saying that Texas could have, by any means, won the national championship. I think Indiana would have easily beat Texas. There's a couple other teams in this field that I think would have beat Texas. Ohio State did beat Texas. But I think Texas was one of the best 12 teams in the country, probably at the bottom there. But still, I think there's a lot to be said about that chip on your shoulder of missing the college football playoffs, thinking you should have been there, and just getting dogged on all year for being preseason number 1 and then falling out of the college football playoffs just barely, just hardly. I mean, there's plenty of people love to dog on Texas about them being ranked number 1. You can go back and watch our episodes from the beginning of the season. I said you could scramble the top 5 and whoever's number 1 could be number 1. I don't know if Texas deserved to be number 1. Obviously, probably not. But who else are you going to put up there? People were arguing LSU should be in the top 5.
Nobody was arguing Indiana.
Clemson was in the top 5. Penn State was in the top 5. I certainly would much rather be Texas than either of those teams right now, personally. I don't know about you. But yeah, so I think there's a lot to be said about a chip on your shoulder going into next season, considering previously you were the only team who had been in the college football playoff 2 seasons straight. Everyone expected you to be in it going into this season, and then you miss it, and just barely. So I think that will make Texas better. You learn from those mistakes of just really not being prepared on the O-line, because that was one of the main reasons Texas was not in the college football playoff. So hopefully they fix those mistakes. As far as the drawbacks, did they adequately address the needs on the O-line? Obviously, it looked a lot better later in the season, but you really have to build that depth. You have to be confident in the depth you have going, because you cannot waste Arch Manning's most likely last season at Texas.
No, it feels all in, doesn't it?
He can't piss it away with a garbage O-line again. That's unacceptable.
I mean, do you agree when people say it feels like Sark is going like truly all in to build it around Arch, to say, okay, this is we finished strong. We got to look. Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't have the tools to be successful at the beginning of the season. I'm sorry, if you are scared that you're going to get killed on every drive, you're probably not going to be playing your best football. There's certain plays he made that there are no excuse for, but like when you're afraid you're going to get a concussion on every play, and he's lucky he didn't get more concussions than he did. You're not going to play your best football. And he obviously didn't play his best football at the beginning of the season, but we saw his potential and saw his trajectory towards the end of the season. My one other red flag is, how is the defense going to look? The defense lost more this season than they did last year. Looked a little suspicious against the
middle of the schedule.
And in the middle of the schedule. I think there's some things we really need to lock down there, but obviously you have a new coach in that group too. So we'll see how Muschamp does. Right now I have no reason to not have confidence, but it can be proven wrong. So Those are my three, and then my drawback.
Mine are, let me look up because I texted it. Mine, to me, I would go with, kind of to start where you ended, I think the culture, and I know they lost the last couple games, and you talk about a chip on the shoulder. A&M
expectations.
And A&M, the expectation level has risen, and they should have a chip on their shoulder as well because of the way they ended the season.
And people calling them fraudulent.
and I've got that chip, obviously, but they should have it, and they should go into the season. I think, like you said, they've set a different standard. The bar's been raised. You saw what the culture meant from, culture. Every new coach says it. Every new coach is going to reset the culture, build the culture. Well, if you look at A&M in year 1 to year 2, it did build. And they played like a winning program, a championship program right there up until the end. And they lost 2 close games to really good football teams, particularly Miami that came on the final play, essentially. I think the culture will help them avoid too much of a setback, let's say. Now, my second one, they lose a lot in the front 7, but I love what they're bringing back in the secondary. And quietly, the defensive backfield was probably the most improved area of the A&M football team, that and wide receiver. But they return a ton of that. I mentioned Ricky Gibson out of Tennessee. They've added a guy out of Colorado whose brother's playing right now, and Byard at safety. They returned both starters at safety already, including a veteran senior backup in Bryce Anderson, who I call him a backup. He could be a jack of all trades. He could play nickel. They brought back their backup nickel who could slide in and start, and Jordan Shaw. And then at corner, Des Ricks came back and passed on the NFL, and they went and added a guy that was trending towards being an all-SEC pick last year in Ricky Gibson. I love the secondary, what they've got. And then Marcel in year 3. Look, again, I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time. We always beat this up, not just me and you, but the whole fan base.
Some people are going to say that's a drawback, but continue.
Here's the thing. I'll challenge you on this, and you can say.
I'm not saying it's a drawback. I think returning a quarterback with experience, period, is that's going to be a benefit more than anything. I do think Marcel still needs to take some steps to have more confidence in how good he will be next season.
We agree there. But again, I do think we see all this excitement over these portal guys, and like I said last week, let Marcel have gone into the portal and seen what people. He had some spectacular games this year. He ended the season with 2 bad ones for sure. I would even say 2.5, where he was really bad and spectacular in the same game. That one was. He
ended the season with 2.5. But I was about to say you cannot forego that South Carolina half, because
I don't want to get you going on that one.
Indicative of some problems to come.
Yeah, I don't want to get you started on that one of all the games, because that is our about a 15-minute debate we had a few weeks ago. But yeah, he's got to get better. But he had some really high moments, And I had someone the other day tell me, man, he's just going to get you. He's an 8-4 quarterback, and I just go, yeah, I guess so. Except for that last year, he went 11-2, and got you to the.
And then people will talk
playoff.
about the schedule.
Yeah, and then they'll do a schedule, and I'll go, okay, well, what did you think they were going to be on that schedule? Because you're the person that was telling me, not you, but the people I'm talking to, you had us at 7-5, and you said
the schedule also looked a lot harder than it actually ended up turning out to be. So you can't leave that point out.
Well, look.
And you wouldn't leave that point out if it wasn't your team you were talking about.
Okay, listen, you're right, but here's the deal. It was still, like, you played a tough schedule in terms of a lot of the teams they played were tough. Notre Dame, he went for, I think, 397 yards.
The first one you bring up is not even an SEC team.
I would bring up the SEC teams, but then you'll go into why they're not good, whereas...
Because a lot of them weren't.
But I would tell you, like, he's an offensive player, correct?
Are you going to tell me that South Carolina was a tough team and a tough game?
No.
It was a tough game, though.
It was.
Shouldn't have been a tough game.
It shouldn't have. Am I on the stand?
You were at home as well.
Wait. Am I on the stand? Because I will defend this. Your what do you? I don't know what you call the lawyers.
The best comeback in SEC history against what? A South Carolina team.
Oh my God, dude! You might make me quit. You might make me quit. Let me say this. Here's what I would challenge, like, you or other. And I don't want to say you because you'll actually do it. And this is what sucks about you. You might actually, if you have like 10 minutes after the show, you're gonna look it up and text me. So I really don't want you to. I want anyone else to. Okay, how about that? I want, like. Look at Marcel. So these teams, right, that whether they're a 10 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10 or anywhere in between, 2 out of 10. Look at Marcel and what he did against those teams versus other players other quarterbacks that people are propping up around this conference and in the country. So I would say Notre Dame. I would say Arkansas. I would say Auburn, where he wasn't great, but go compare him to Gunnar Stockton and John Mateer and I would say, what else? LSU. Compare him to Ty Simpson, who's going to be a first-round NFL pick. Compare him to Pavia against LSU. Compare him to Mateer. Go.
Compare him to. I don't think anybody wants to compare him to mid-tier.
That's fair.
That's not fair. A great. Not a comparison.
You're
very
not wrong.
relevant.
But like those guys, like Stockton, Chambliss, Pavia, Manning. Mateer, I'm just naming these quarterbacks. Like, go Ty Simpson, who was good.
Billy, there's a reason he wasn't at the Heisman ceremony.
Well, who was? One of those guys, Pavia, was the only one out of those ones we mentioned. But I'm just telling you, like, go make those comparisons, and I will actually challenge you to do that if you ever get bored. Go make those comparisons.
Don't tempt me.
You know what, Amanda? I think I want to do that. We'll have this. Let's shelve this one for next week. And if it goes bad for me, I will wear it, and we'll make it as public as possible. We'll say, look, here's the clip. Here, the little how it started, how it ended. I think he was really bad in those last 2 games. He was really good. Through 11. And if you want to say, well, that team wasn't that good, I would say, well, let's go see what the other quarterbacks did against that not so good team like Auburn that had a really good defense.
Do you know how many 300-yard passing games Marcel had?
You want me to guess? I could guess.
I'd love for you to guess.
I would say, are you counting the non? I would say.
I'll count non-conference too.
Okay. I would say 3.
He had 2.
Okay.
Do you know how many Arch Manning had?
I would say 7 because y'all were behind so much.
He had 4.
4?
And then you can count 5 if you want to count 295 as a 300.
No, because then I would count Notre Dame because I think Marcel threw for 297.
No, Marcel had a 300-yard game against Notre Dame. That was one of them.
All right. Here, let me say something to the people watching that say that you cook me because you're more prepared. She's sitting in front of a computer. I'm not. If y'all want to see me look at my phone, I'm like this.
Billy's like this when he looks at his phone, so you know he's looking at his phone.
Yeah, if I'm ever talking,
have you ever thought of like the optometrist?
We have a sponsor.
Billy?
We have a sponsor that's reached out, so you can thank.
Do you need glasses? Because it seems like you need some readers.
We can thank you and my girl Hannah Montoya up in Chicago Barstool,
Billy.
Yeah, who was here for the South Carolina game, and then when I went up to Chicago a few weeks ago, we all went to dinner, and she posted that picture of me squinting at my phone, and then you retweeted it. And so now we've got a literal sponsor.
The best part is you should see the size of the font on his phone combined with the fact that it's 2 inches from his face.
It's not small. It's not small.
It's not small. It's not the normal default font size.
So you're going to look that up. But just so the people know, when you see her, speaking of eyes, when I'm talking and you see her eyes doing this, that's when I know I'm in trouble because she's fact checking and she's looking on her computer. I don't have one. I'm just saying it's not fair.
I will say a lot of times I did write stuff out in advance and it's just in my notes, which you can do as well, you know?
Fair. I just feel like I could do this without, but yeah, so.
Most of the time I did make notes beforehand and maybe looking up some names to make sure to get right.
Okay, so we're going to do this Marcel thing next week. So that I'm excited about him making the jump. And what we do agree on is he needs to make that jump. And
you were saying the same thing last year, though, saying you were excited for him to make the jump.
So I think Marcel Reed is one of the most improved quarterbacks in college football from last year to this year.
Okay, we'll look at the stats and see if we can compare, and I will make sure to take into account number of games played and be statistically correct.
I am dug in
based on number of games played.
I'm dug in on this one. I'm going to put my football ball-knowing reputation against yours here. So we will visit this next week. Everybody can have something to look forward to. But yeah, so those are the things I'm excited about. I'm concerned about they were so great getting after the quarterback this past season. It was such a big part of what they were able to do. They've got to be able to replicate that, and they lose Cassius.
I should mention Colin Simmons in my excited to why Texas will be better next year because he's coming. He's coming.
He had a great finish to the year. Actually ended up leading the SEC in sacks, so the returning sack leader.
Yeah, sorry to take that away from you.
Cassius, that was this is not a fun.
He had a chip on his shoulder about it. I mean, Cassius had his opportunity against Miami.
And Texas. He didn't have a sack in the last two games, which was really.
Oh, that Texas O-line managed to hold up.
I just want to finish this episode. I want to move on to. Let's talk about, speaking of Cassius Howell in Miami, let's talk about the national championship game. Shall we?
For moral victories? Do you want to talk about moral victories or the national championship game first?
I did want to talk about that. There was a tweet this week that went, it was, what did it get? It was over a Texags article, and then it got
it got ratioed to the moon. Not even by me.
Yeah, I know, not even by you. It was 1,000 likes.
I stayed out of that one. I don't like.
It was Claudia.
There's certain things I'll try to clown. There's things where I don't know if I want to call A&M completely fraudulent.
They're not. It's so
I'm not going to call them fraudulent.
Yeah.
I will say there were some question marks. There were some red flags that should have raised eyebrows.
That's fair.
That doesn't mean they were a bad team.
I agree. And it doesn't mean
red flags.
It doesn't mean they didn't need to be in the play. All it meant was, and you talked about it in fairness.
An 11-2 team coming from the SEC deserves, or an 11-1 team coming from the SEC deserves to be in the playoff. Yeah. There's no argument about that. And if you argue that, then.
So the tweet was from Claudia, who I generally get along with. I don't know her personally, but we know each other well enough. We've gotten along, friendly, and I think she's fun on Twitter.
I love her. I love her on Twitter.
And I think a lot of people that I know are friends with. She's good people, right? So, but with that said, I disagreed with the tweet. It was just basically a point by point.
She's just tweeting statistics.
Yeah, but those statistics were. y'all do these statistics, but they're. I'm going to look it up because it's misleading in that.
Well, then point out statistics to prove those statistics wrong.
And I did.
There's your opportunity.
And I did. And that was my.
What were your statistics to prove those statistics wrong?
So the article was by Olin, and I haven't even read it, but it was like.
You should read it.
Okay.
You need to read it.
I will, but
it reads a little bitter. I don't know Olin. I'm sure he's a great guy, but it reads a little.
It's
bitter.
Olin. So you don't, Olin is we love Olin. He is bitter.
Not
so
dogging on him.
fine.
I'm sure he's a great dude, but I got a giggle out of it.
We all love Olin, and Olin is cantankerous is the word I use a lot. So, but it was essentially, I think the point that he was trying to make without just knowing the topic was,
it read so sassy.
it was like Miami's success is showing this team's on the front. I don't think I would go that far. I think A&M caught undue shit losing to Miami the way they did.
I think people were waiting to give A&M shit is the thing.
You're probably right. But it was wrong for them to give so much shit when the reality should have been, and some of the real college football media said it, like, that were here and saw it in person, like, damn, what a great football game. And they walked away going, Miami's really good. And very few people in like the actual media were saying, well, A&M's bad. It was just this narrative that popped up. And
Except for Brandon Walker.
Yeah, but even then, like, you've got to look at Miami now, and I think that's you're not handing out a trophy for this, Amanda, but you got to look at Miami now and say, A&M got a brutal draw. They got the team that, as we look back now, that no one really wants to play. Not Ohio State, not Ole Miss, not A&M, and different kind of game, but the closest game they played, it was Ole Miss and them were in more of a shootout, and A&M and them were in a defensive struggle. Both came down to a ball being thrown in the end zone, one from the 5-yard line. So I think had A&M gotten a different draw, they could have advanced further. But I think
if they're playing at JMU, of course they'll advance
further.
further.
I mean, even not JMU and Tulane, but the other ones, I think there were a lot of teams that could say that. Hell, your Longhorns, you said that earlier about them, and it's not wrong. I think the Aggies just got a tough draw.
Well, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that Texas could have only beat JMU and Tulane. I think there were a couple other teams in that field they could have beat, and there were 2 teams in that field that they did beat, and I think they could have beat again. So
I'm not going to say they couldn't have. I think to assume that would be wrong. Like, I think those would be really good games, especially if Texas would have had to come to Kyle Field. I think that would have been a lot tougher than the one they had played previous. But
I don't know. They haven't. The last 2 games at Kyle Field didn't really. I mean, the last 2 major games. I'm not gonna whatever team y'all played in November that was like a JV high school team.
Samford.
The other games that were played at Kyle Field, maybe they just come out flat thinking that it's going to be an easy game because they got the 12th man behind them.
I will say this.
But I mean, that's not an acceptable way to start a football game.
I will say this. Both those games were 11 a.m., unfortunately. And you got to still win them.
I don't care if it's 11 a.m. You're at home.
I get it.
The other team also has to play at 11 a.m., and it's 11 a.m. on the road.
Okay, can we go to this tweet?
Okay.
Didn't beat Texas, didn't win the SEC, didn't win a playoff game, didn't play Georgia or Alabama, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Ole Miss, or Vanderbilt. That's one of the ones I have the biggest gripe with when people say that. You can't assume that an A&M team that went 11-1 and beat some teams that some of these teams actually lost to would lose to Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Vandy. It's crazy to make that leap. So that part of it is where you actually lose me. I
think they're gonna lose you on this tweet regardless because you have to recognize your bias.
And said did score 3 points at home. 3 points against Miami, who also had 3 points with 90 seconds left. So here's the deal. And
you had a chance to tie the game.
Yes.
That's I think why people are questionable about Marcel Reed in those extremely clutch moments that he had the opportunity to be the hero and be Superman, he was the opposite.
Against Texas and
against the two biggest games on your schedule.
2 of the 3, because in the other one he actually
Notre Dame has
got them into the playoff.
You can lose a Notre Dame game and still go on and do everything else you did.
Yeah, I guess that's probably
you made the same argument for Texas, Ohio State.
But
both of those teams still have the opportunity to be playoff teams after that game.
That's fair.
The 2 biggest games on your schedule that actually hinged on Texas game hinged on you making the SEC championship. The Miami and also hinged on you having the best seeding possible in the college football playoff, which you ended up not getting, leading you to lose your first college football playoff game.
Okay.
Are you still there? You're a blank screen, so it's I don't know if
I got up and left.
Did you mute or did you leave? I don't know what happened.
I should leave, dude. Like seriously, I'm not disagreeing with that, other than the fact that that's not even where I was going. And so here's what I'm saying. This was my reply. They had a top 10 road win. They had 3 top 25 road wins, 11 wins when they were picked to win 7 or 8.
It's so funny to me because last year when Texas won ranked games, you didn't count them as ranked games because the teams were unranked by the end of the season, including your own team.
Yeah, I mean, my point I'm making though is that this to in some way paint this as a fraudulent season is actually crazy, and for a fan of a team that was, and again, like I agree with everything you said about how Texas finished the year and how there's reason to be very excited moving into next year. So what a rally, okay? You beat OU and A&M down the stretch. Your only loss was to Georgia. You beat Michigan, a national brand in a bowl game. Like, what a rally. Your quarterback went from that stupid article that The Athletic wrote to being a legit preseason Heisman favorite next year. What a rally. But to, like, when I have to hear and you're not as, you like to go on the back and forth. You're not out there just spewing stuff like this. There's a portion of a fan base that has gone to insane lengths to try to discredit a season, which I find ironic coming from the fan base whose team was preseason number 1.
I find it ironic coming from a fan base who was high on having an 11-win season, the best season they've had in decades, only to lose to the same team you're trying to talk shit about right now. I am so sorry. When you win the game, you get bragging rights for the next 364 days.
No. I don't disagree with the bragging right thing. But it doesn't mean that you can, and again, I haven't seen you tweet and say this. It doesn't mean because you won, you get to ignore what you did or didn't do. So yes, you have bragging rights over him, but to go and attack the entire season coming from a fan base whose team was preseason number 1 that didn't make the playoff that the team you're attacking did make out of the same conference sounds wild to me. And it's not, and we're talking about this one tweet. I like I said, I think Claudia's fun, like on Twitter and stuff. But it's not
just Texas that's attacking you, though. You got to look at the entire college football landscape is attacking you. Because I'm sorry, when you host a playoff game, in your environment that you tout as the best college football home environment in the hardest place to win, and you don't score a touchdown.
I hate the not scoring a touchdown part. I will not.
Yeah, I mean, back. At least OU scored a touchdown. You both set a record this year, being the first teams to lose their home.
OU would have got shut out by Miami. OU would have got shut out by that Miami team.
Could have hypothetical.
Can we talk about
games,
then? Let's talk about how great that A&M defense was against Miami. Then they gave up 10 points when Ole Miss gave up 30, and
the
Ohio
moral
State gave up
victories
24.
continue. Hang the banner.
I'm not hanging a banner, and you know I'm not.
I've created an AI banner for you. We can add that to the banner if you would like.
I am not hanging a MFing banner. There's no cups printed. There's no trophies. I had some fun with that. I think a lot of people had some fun with that tweet. By the way, congratulations on, to her on crafting a tweet that got so much engagement. I mean, when you do it, that's what you're looking for, right? It's part of this whole battle and banter, and I'm
looking for people to watch our podcast. I'm not just looking for rage bait engagement. I'm looking for people to join in the fun.
Well, and I think that part of it, though, it's kind of like what we kind of represent is what we came out of, is that going back and forth. And so you're the Longhorns and I'm the Aggies, and we do this every week. It's been fun. So things like this that get us going, like that little debate right there that I am deeming over, so we can move on to talk about Indiana.
The white flag. We need like a little... We can both have like a little white flag, or maybe you just need the white flag, because I will never back down from an argument, as we have both seen.
I will never back down from it, but I know when to...
You've literally said cut.
I know when to eject. I know when to tap out.
That's your white flag that you're waving.
I'm waving. You can't see it, but I have a piece of white paper, and I'm waving it. So with that said, Miami, we just talked about them a lot. Miami and Indiana. Who do you got in this one, Amanda?
Indiana. No question.
I do too.
And then you have Miami, because it'll look great if Miami wins, because then you can lean on A&M played them closer than anyone else.
Do you really think I would do that? I would not do it in that way. Like, that's the difference. Like, and I think any Aggie that does that,
you wouldn't do it in that way, but you would do it.
Kate,
are you still there?
Yeah, listen, I wouldn't do it in that way. I would do it not to say, hey, we lost to the national champs. I have
in your notes, Billy says yes, so I know you would do it.
Yeah, I would. I would not. No, I said, can Miami win? I said, Billy says yes. That's where it says that.
So where are you picking them?
I'm gonna pick Indiana, but here's the thing. I think that spread, I'm going to bet Miami, even though Indiana's been blowing people out. Because here's why.
Are you picking Indiana because I just bullied you?
No, you can't bully me. You can't. You do not bully me. No, I'm not. I'm picking Indiana because I think Miami. I do think Miami can win both lines of scrimmage against Indiana. I've been really impressed with Indiana's line of scrimmage, way more than I thought. When I've watched them against Ohio State, Oregon, they played Oregon in the regular season, Ohio State, and then in Alabama, right? Alabama, Ohio State, Oregon, and Oregon twice. So 4 games against what I think are real teams. They have bullied them. Now, Ohio State kind of matched them at the line of scrimmage, and that was, to me, really impressive on Indiana's part because I wasn't expecting it. Miami throttled Ohio State on both lines. And I think they can win with Bain and Mesidor on defense and that O-line. I think they can get to Mendoza. I think they can give Indiana problems. I think this is going to be a close, lower-scoring game, but I do think Mendoza is the best player on the field. I think he's a complete stud. He won the Heisman, deserved it. He continues to prove that he deserved it. And I think Indiana goes in there and wins a really close football game. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm rooting for Miami. I'm rooting for Miami, but it's not so I can say something. I'm rooting for Miami because I like my people from Miami that I met up here. And
you love Carson Beck, big Carson Beck fan.
Not a big No. Maybe
you love the memes we send you about Carson Beck throughout the game.
The Ice Age. I'll probably be more of a Darian Mensah fan next year. So.
Yeah, I mean, I have Indiana. I think what's funny, like watching how the postseason has gone, is there were so many people, especially the Diego Pavia bunch, like pointing out all the stats of like did Fernando Mendoza really deserve this? Look at these stats compared with this guy. And he's just gone on to prove that, like, yeah, he's the one who deserved the Heisman. And I mean, just a really easy player to cheer for. Great family, as you can see.
And the whole Miami connection there, no story of him.
Yeah, the Miami, and he's playing, like, great storyline. I love a good story.
I still might go Monday morning. I've told them I'm holding out. I reserve the right to hop a plane to Miami Monday morning and come back Tuesday or Wednesday. But let's finish it out with, how do you feel? I just want your opinion on something. I always want your opinion on things, and you're more than happy to give them, whether I want them or not. But Lane Kiffin.
This time you want it.
Yes, Lane Kiffin. As we're going to put this out tomorrow, so it's not too dated, because Tuesday, who knows what will happen with the portal. Lane Kiffin's been hinting around that maybe some Ole Miss guys have gone in late. He's having way too much fun with the Ole Miss fans, I think, on social media. He's trolling, as he loves to do. And then there was this stuff with the coaching staff and them being up there, and are they recruiting kids to Ole Miss? There's a ton of he said, she said going on. I do think most people believe Ole Miss because it's Lane. But where do you come off on Lane Kiffin basically just the whole way he's left and how he's handled things since getting to Baton Rouge?
So, you know me, I like LSU. I went to school in Louisiana for a solid year. And I mean, even though I wasn't at LSU, everybody in that state loves LSU. I was D3. So everybody at my college, if you were cheering for a college football team, you were cheering for LSU. So I've always liked LSU. The whole Lane Kiffin thing, this is the metaphor I'm going to use. Think of if you were the mistress in a relationship and that man broke up with his wife to be with you. And then he goes and does the same thing to you later on. Ends up getting another mistress and cheating on you.
Don't act shocked.
That is what Lane Kiffin is to me in college football. LSU is really happy about Lane Kiffin right now, which I don't blame him. Should be happy about a solid coach coming in. Looks like he's snaking a bunch of players from his old school. To be expected.
Yeah.
But don't expect that he won't do the same exact thing to you if somebody else comes knocking later on with more money or a better offer or a better program.
Yeah.
And personally, I can have fun watching it from the outside. Everybody loves to watch drama that they're not involved in.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would want that as my head coach personally. I like a little bit more quiet of a situation and not something where I'm like, oh, is he going to leave me? Is he going to break my heart eventually? That's just me. That's my take on the situation. I think it's messy. I think it's just the nature of college football these days. Don't think it's a great look, but at the same time, what are you going to do?
It's very SEC.
Coaches do that when they leave. You can look at so many other coaches who have left schools and then taken half their roster to the new school.
It is the most SEC storyline ever. And it is going to make Ole Miss and LSU and the hatred and vitriol, especially, by the way, Lane Kiffin and LSU go up there in September of next year. It is going to carry the same level of hatred and vitriol that the Nick Saban-led Alabama teams had when they played LSU, who he did not even leave Alabama directly. Leave LSU directly to Bama. He went to the Miami Dolphins in between, and then
Nick Saban was not close to as messy as
no, but the LSU fans hated him, and they hated that he wasn't his, and that's going to be the case here. My only fear is that LSU is going to ramp up so quickly under Lane, and he's going to decimate Ole Miss, especially if they can't get Trinidad Chambliss back, to where very quickly that is not anywhere close to the rivalry that we saw for so many years with LSU and Alabama, which was so fun to watch. I think this one could get
I think Ole Miss has a potential to, this is the NIL era. Any team has a potential to be rebuilt quickly, even if it's not in year one. And you got Ole Miss, you got some name recognition there. You got people wanting to come play for.
They had a good playoff run that should excite people.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for them. The A&M doesn't play them this year. I know you guys do.
I think we're home this year with Ole Miss. That is top of my list to go to an SEC game. Like, I have never been to an SEC road game. I need to change that this year. I assume I'll change that this year. I assume I'll be coming to College Station at the very least. I cannot go to Death Valley, I have recently learned. So pretty depressed on that one. But
so I'm trying to think. My next year the road games aren't. I've been to Bama so many times.
I'll try to go to Tennessee too. I think I want to try to go to Knoxville.
You should absolutely. That's actually. And you know what? Here's my advice on that one. If you can, take like Thursday, Friday off of work. Go to Asheville, North Carolina. Spend a couple days there.
Oh yeah, I have a friend that lives there. I actually
and drive
almost
to Knoxville.
Worked in Knoxville. I almost took a sports anchor job in Knoxville. Was this close? They just offered me about $20,000 too low to be able to have a living wage.
You'd have been wearing Tennessee orange.
I would never wear Tennessee orange even if I were in Knoxville.
Even if you like the song. All right, speaking of, here's my deal on Kiffin, and then we're going to talk songs and close it out. Here's my deal on Kiffin. Part of me thinks he's being too inflammatory, and he's acting like a child in this thing, and just go to LSU, recruit your players, recruit your team. You're being paid a ton of money to win a national title as quick as possible. No love lost. Don't be scared of hurting people's feelings and whatnot, but just do it without the trolling and the instigating and all the
Lane Kiffin will
all the
not
games.
do that.
I know. That's the part I don't like. The part I'm okay with is everybody at Ole Miss had no problem with the Portal King. They had no problem with him going and taking players from every other school that he could. They had zero problem with that. They came into A&M. They took Walter Nolan, who went on to be a first-round pick. They're taking guys from everywhere. He literally called himself the Portal King, right? Like, you can't celebrate that, kind of like what you were saying in a way. You're celebrating that. You're loving it. You're putting on the villain hat. Lane Kiffin's your guy, yada, yada. Now he's at LSU, and it's like, oh, man, he's being mean to us. He's poaching our players. He's trolling us. Well, he trolled everyone else in the SEC. He used to do it to Jimbo. You guys thought it was super funny. That part I don't feel bad for you. All's fair.
Billy,
what?
We forgot to talk about something.
What? Do I want to?
Huh?
Is this going to be fun for me to talk about, or is this
the women's basketball game today?
We started the show. And I knew A&M was down
by a few points.
What was the final, Amanda?
80-35.
35. It was like, I could be wrong, but I want to say it was like 36-24 at halftime.
That second half didn't go well.
So, you know what?
That is, you'd think they were playing the JV team. Wow.
Hey, you know what? I'll take my.
Y'all. I see a comment here. Y'all only scored 11 points in the second half.
So I was right. Yeah, it was 24. Oh, wow, that's brutal. That's really bad. That's
a yikes. That is a yikes loss.
There's been some really rough losses on that side right lately for Joni Taylor.
Yeah, how sad are y'all that Vic Schaefer is not your head coach right now?
I think the world of Vic. I didn't like.
I was dating an Aggie when that hire happened, and I can tell you he was very bitter about it when it happened.
I wanted him to succeed Gary Blair without question. I think he's an elite women's college basketball coach. He's an elite basketball coach. I don't know how. I think if you could have hired him from Mississippi State before Texas got involved, then this could be a powerhouse program right now. But I also don't know how much I want to, like what Kim Mulkey and Vic Schaefer, like I want to see A&M win at everything. There is a certain point where I'm like, wait a second, did you just tweet something while we're sitting here?
Yeah.
It was probably the basketball.
Do you have like tweets on notification or something?
Yeah, of course. We literally, like, half of them are us arguing. I have to.
I don't get any notifications.
If you put
Twitter.
mine on notifications, you would literally go nuts. You'd be
I would
so
never
mad.
log on to the app again.
You'd be so
No, thank
mad
you.
with all my gibberish back and forth with other people, not involving you. You'd be like, shop. Okay. I don't understand. It's part of the women's basketball thing that gets me is when you're going to spend that much on a sport that loses as much money as it does. So I'm kind of torn. I want to win. My thing has always been, if you play it, win at it. I watched A&M win a national title in women's basketball. It was really fun to watch. It was an amazing team. The girls are great. They're still great. One of them is coaching at Texas, Sydney Carter. I want to win at that sport. It is probably still the fourth most high-profile sport in college athletics. So, yeah, I would love to see them not score 35 points in a game. But you know what else I will do? I will take my men's basketball win in Austin from the night before, and I'll call it a successful weekend.
I mean, I don't blame you. I feel like a lot of people would, but I mean, 35 points is rough. Oof.
It's not good.
No.
Vic always has good defense, I'll say that. All right, Amanda, since you got your final point in on this one, we're going to stop the fight. The ref has stepped in and said it's time for dinner. I know you've got dinner on Sunday too, so I'm going to go watch the end of the NFL playoffs, enjoy some dinner, and between now and next week, you've got a homework assignment. I've called you out. We've called each other out. We're gonna have a clip to go with the clip. So good luck, and I look forward to seeing your tweets and TikToks, and I will work on the La Casa delivery as well.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, I'll be needing that La Casa here pretty soon.
You're going to watch this episode and laugh because you didn't get to see my reaction to half of the things you did. But congratulations on being...
I need to go back and watch the portions where you were silent and just like, I'm like, did the feed freeze? Are we still on here?
I started the show saying I was going to... You brought your A game today, so it was good. It was a good show. When you look, win or lose, when you're on, it's entertaining. We'll say that.
I was drinking a little glass of rosé here, so maybe it's just a France rosé kicking back in.
You get drunk off like 2 of them, so yeah, I'm sure.
It was 1.5 of a glass. It's my little Sunday night treat.
All right, Amanda. I'm Billy,
and I'm Amanda,
and we had fun moving some goalposts.
We did.